Gather around, Skull Brothers and Sisters. This is Minnesota Sports Talk, presenting Under the Lights with your hosts, Justin and Dave, next in 3, 2, 1. Gather around, Skull Brothers and Sisters. This is Dave. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at Skull World. I got Justin, who just got picked up as a UDFA as a long snapper by the Vikings, and the Boston College's biggest fan, Dante.
Where did Dante go?
Lost him.
That's what you get for talking smack about me like that. What's up, everybody in the chat? How y'all doing? What's up to Evil? What's up, Mary?
Yeah, look at that. I mean, look at all those comments already.
Doctor, you guys had comments up in here before we even hit the live button. That's how you know. Are you frozen or am I frozen?
Why? I'm not frozen.
Oh, all right.
Production value.
Yes.
What is this? I have a question.
Oh.
All right. Skull Mary, what's up? My worthless opinion, not so worthless. Yeah, you didn't even get it. Hey, Dante, you didn't even get to hear my intro. Boston College's favorite, biggest fan.
Same colors, not the same school.
Yeah.
Dr. Proto, good.
What's up, Doctor?
Well, what question do you have, Too Evil to Hope?
I'm sure, which jersey is he going to ask me about tonight? I wonder. We'll start.
We're going to give off the Jefferson jersey tonight. I give off everybody's stuff that's on your wall. We're giving away a free guitar tonight. Dante, you gonna autograph that when we give it away?
Yeah, I can autograph this one. I got a couple. Hey, look, check it out. I got so many jerseys. This one still has the tag on it, I believe. This is a Patrick Sir. Yeah, still got the tag on. I'm a jersey fanatic. No, I'm not a Falcons fan. I know somebody in your comments is probably gonna be like, "It's a Falcons fan." I'm a Jaguars fan.
He's a Jaguars fan, despite that video where he was crying.
The internet is vicious. Internet vicious. So you gave the Minnesota Vikings an F on the draft. Is that correct? I'm just kidding. I want to get them started. I want to get them started at you, man. People go after you. People go after you in the chat. Yeah. You are blunt, though, man. You are a little blunt.
I don't.
You don't pull any punches.
Yeah, I don't care because I'll sit there and I watch it. I always tell people, prove me wrong. If you can point out a timestamp in a game of all the things this player does, unlike me, then I will be open to changing my opinion. But I do too much research to not be opinionated. So, but it keeps your guys' chat lively when I ask why, and then they don't respond and they get mad at me, and I'm like, I just asked a question.
That's all he did was ask.
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes you comment on my videos. I'm like, I didn't mean it, Dante. I didn't mean it. Just kidding.
Hey, we're friends. I'll always be blunt, and I always challenge your opinion
I didn't
too.
I didn't mean to say something that you didn't agree with. But hey, just if you could tell everybody early on in this video where they can find you, man.
If you go to Google, if you type in East Coast Gridiron, all of our stuff will pop up. I'm sure everybody likes all their different social media, so we got something for everybody everywhere, but mostly here on YouTube. Type us up. You see the logo right there on the top right of my little box. Once you see that, you know you found the right place. So yeah, it's a proven fact. If you type it in Google, all our stuff comes up. It's cool.
Yeah, mine too. It's really weird. I put Minnesota Sports Talk. Boom, first
video. It makes you feel good when that happens because ain't nobody else got it. Nobody else is called Minnesota Sports. But then like in the articles though, it's like a more to the scene. Hey Mary, Chicken Soup for the Soul. Bob, what's up? Already got hey, Too Evil Hope is saying hi to you. That's good. Yeah, he's always in our chat.
That might change later.
No, he's a big supporter. He comes through, so I appreciate him.
Three Musketeers. Wow. I think it's gonna have to be this is what your third time. I think you've probably been on one of my shows.
I think
this one.
Yeah, I think this is the third time. I think the first time I came on with you and Rap, and then you had me on the previous time before this, and this is my third time.
Yeah, cool. And Raymond, my
Raymond?
winner of the Chuck Foreman jersey.
That's right.
Some nice comments on the on some of my videos today or past couple of days, Raymond. Appreciate it. And Davey Chains. Did you see that? He's got
That's
Davey
cool.
and 2 chains.
That's cool.
Davey 2 chains.
Chains
I'm gonna
emoji.
call ya.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't even know there was an emoji for chains.
What's up, Kofi?
Yeah, I do now, and that is awesome, honestly. All right, everybody's in. Everybody's saying hi. I appreciate it. Hey, so I know you weren't like overly excited about our draft, but let's just talk about the draft, not the UDFA's for right now.
Yeah.
Was there someone in the draft that you thought was a good value?
There was a ton of good value that seemed to just drop. I don't know why. I mean, teams like who they like. Teams like synergy. I mean, you've seen it with the Eagles. I mean, do I agree with them picking up Nolan Smith? Absolutely not. But I mean, we're gonna see if this Georgia Bulldog, Philadelphia Eagle experiment works. We've never seen it. We've never seen this happen. Well, and then they kind of got lucky in the spot that they were at too to be able to put this team together. So what you're hoping is that they have a lot of synergy like they did in college. I mean, the last 2 years, Georgia's been like the best defenses that we've seen in the history of college football. So you hope that, you know, those guys work together and are as prominent as they were in college. But if it falls on his face, this will never, ever, ever happen again. I can tell you that for a long time.
But and if it works, then everybody will just start drafting from 1 or 2 schools for an entire draft.
It's like the Vikings were drafting everybody from Notre Dame for a while.
Yeah.
And now it's like, and then a little bit there's like LSU, but
well, a lot of people were drafting Alabama wide receivers, and they seem to be cursed right now. So,
yep, that is true. But on the Vikings, was there like out of the 7 picks, and it might jog your memory? I have the slideshow. Is there one that maybe stands out
of your picks?
Yeah, like some people like the running back McBride in the 7th round.
I mean, that's to me that's good value. He's a really small kid though, and I'm playing at UAB. They don't play a lot of people in the Conference USA too. So
just a reminder here, it's Mekhi Blackman, Jay Ward.
Yeah,
it's Jay Quellen, right?
Jay Quellen. I think it's Jay Quellen. I know people call him Jackie. So
people are calling him Jacqueline.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
He's his name, Jacqueline. Jaron Hall, Dwayne McBride. So those were our 6 picks. So nothing's really. I know you like this guy. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about it. That's one of the main. That's the main reason I brought you on. We might as well just talk about him right now.
I watched every single snap, every single game that Jaron Hall was at BYU. I am a huge Jaron Hall fan, but at the NFL level, I don't think he's ever going to be a starter. I mean, I'll just be completely blunt there. I interviewed him. He's a great guy. He's going to be great for your organization as far as guys that are going to be media good darlings. I think he could come in and win you a couple of games, but he has to be in the right system to do so. I even will go as far to say I think he was better than Zach Wilson, just from the adversity that he had to deal with after the fact. The dude played 5 Pac-12 schools, which Zach had never built or never played that caliber of teams in his whole college career. There's a big misconception too about like that he couldn't win the starting job from Zach, which is a big misconception. The dude went on a spiritual journey with his Mormon religion, was out of football for almost 2 years. Then you got Zach Wilson, who's very highly touted out of high school. So yeah, you're not gonna match up to that. You're gonna play second fiddle to the guys. So, but he came back in, played a better resume than Zach Wilson did. I like him, man. The best part about Jaron Hall that I think is going to get people excited, and it's also he's going to have really high highs and have really low lows. Its biggest thing for me is he can't make every single throw like a lot of these quarterbacks can. Say what you want about Tanner McKee. I know that's like a big thing, but Tanner McKee can make almost every throw on the football field. I'm not saying I'm saying his variety of throws is much larger than Jaron Hall, if that makes sense. So Jaron Hall's best attribute is being able to hit a target for whatever reason on the backside pylon of the end zone on like a 50-yard bomb. He does it consistently over and over and over. But when it comes to short intermediate routes, like, those comeback routes or backside hash throws, which is all very difficult throws, he's got like a noodle arm. It's really weird. I don't know what his. I don't know if it's coachable at this point either. I mean, he's only like what 3 months younger than Hendon Hooker. So I mean, he's an older guy too. So I don't know. It might be, but I mean, I would be searching out Jordan Palmer if I wanted to improve anything. The resume of quarterbacks that Jordan Palmer has had is outrageous. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Justin Herbert was there. Like his resume
is like his QB guru school or a thing that he does. Is that right?
Yeah, he's a quarterback consultant. That's what he does. And the thing about Jordan Palmer too, which I think is very underrated for a lot of people, is he's able to change the psyche of your personality playing quarterback and see it from the inside out, which a lot of quarterback coaches don't do. I don't necessarily think that's a problem with Jaren. So mechanically, he has to go to Jordan knowing that I can't make every single throw. Can you help me with this? I mean, I think the arm strength is there. I just don't think he has the arm talent to be successful. I mean, it's a big gap between him and Kirk Cousins.
Before I go to this question, because there's two guys that have different opinions on them. They're on the same channel, and they were at the Senior Bowl, I think, the same time you were. So, but before that, the thing I liked about him, he seems like he throws like people open. He throws with anticipation. I know, and he took like calculated chances, like you're talking about those 50-yard bombs, and it's like only where his guy could get it, you know?
Yeah, it's weird.
But he looks like he throws a lot of back shoulder stuff. So, and he talks about having to throw in windows, you know, like, because of his height. So he has that ability, right? That anticipation, throwing a guy open type thing. He seems pretty smart about that.
His touchdown to interception ratio is really good. So whenever he does throw interceptions, he just can't make the throw. I mean, that's what I've seen on film time and time again. It's
Is it
just like
outside the numbers on an out route kind of thing, or where is it?
Over the middle for some reason is his hot spot to throw an incompletion. Usually on outside of the numbers is where he throws, or I'm sorry, inside the numbers is where he throws a lot of his interceptions. Outside of the numbers where he throws a lot of incompletions. But down the field is where he's had the most success as far as being a gunslinger, which a lot of people are going to love that on the team. But it's not necessarily going to work at the next level, because what they're going to ask you to do in a pro style offense is, are you able to check down off a swing route to get us the first down on the 3rd and 5 instead of throwing a large bomb downfield? So I was watching film on who was it today? Drake May from North Carolina. I was watching a little bit of film on him in their bowl game last year, and I said I don't think he's that good, but I saw a pass that he obviously couldn't make because the guy wasn't open, but he didn't throw to the guy that was obviously open on a post route downfield for 30 yards, but it was like a 3rd and 3, but he ran and got the first down, and I was like, that's great. I mean, but people were saying, why didn't he throw to the wide open guy? Because that's not the route. The correct read is to throw to the flat and get the first down. So that's like, I mean, people that are casual watchers, they'll be like, he should have just thrown to the open guy. But obviously the play call is to go to the flat. It's always designed this way.
Brett Favre should have ran it.
Yeah.
Brett Favre should have ran it.
It's always one of those things where it's just like, oh, I took a shot 40 yards down the field on 3rd and 2. And then we end up punting the ball. It's like, dude, you could have ran for 7 yards. Just pick up the first down. I think for Jaren Hall, for me, he's got a couple, 2-3 things. One, he's got a coach in Kevin O'Connell that's an offensive-minded, new school guy. 2, he's got Justin Jefferson. And 3, if you're telling me his struggles are hitting swing routes on 3rd and 5, Kirk Cousins is the absolute best quarterback on the planet to teach him that. So
yeah.
Here's my father-in-law. Javier Cabilla.
Hey, what's up, Javier? Good
He's
to meet you.
back.
What is going on?
School Vikings, excelente programa de sede Panama. Saludos. I guess I'm being saluted from Panama. I don't know. I wish I knew Spanish better than I did. I'd be able to talk more.
Shout out, Sarah's in the building. Good evening, Sarah. How y'all doing?
I will.
I wanted to ask this quick, but yeah, I interrupted. But let me ask you this: like Tyler Fornes from Purple Daily, they have a new show. Him and Thor Nystrom. Thor Nystrom didn't like Jaren Hall at all. he did a whole article about him the first day of the Senior Bowl, where he said he was terrible. I don't know.
He wasn't
But,
good.
yeah.
I agree with him there. He was not good. He was not the best quarterback there. I was there all 3 days.
And then
he was not good.
But then Tyler Forness like loves him, thinks he's like the 5th best quarterback in the draft. And
I mean, I have him ranked 7th. I mean, maybe that's a little biased because
I feel good about myself because that's what I said in my video. I had him 7th.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm a little biased because I will honestly say where I'm biased with somebody, and I'm biased with Jaren Hall because I think I liked watching him play. But realistically, I think he's a backup. I will say this. This is what I was going to say before you asked the question was, and this directly relates to what we're talking about. If you want him to be successful, it's not going to happen unless Kurt gets hurt. He has to step on the field immediately and get used to the game. His age is not going to do him well. I mean, it's like when we talk about women's biological clock, this is his biological clock with football. Like right now he needs to go. So do we see that happening? No. Well, I mean, Kirk's going to be your guy, but if something does happen to Kirk and he steps in and he learns on the fly to start making these pro style reads in the NFL and start getting the ball out in the different areas that he needs to improve on, then I might be willing to reverse Uno card somebody, to
So
say
you're
like,
saying that you think he'd be better suited to just be tossed out to the Wolves right off the
correct.
bat versus sitting out for 1 year?
Yeah. Yeah, because here's the thing, Justin, and this is why I say that. Yes, I think a lot of things could be coached. Maybe he was a little scared playing in BYU's offense. I don't know. But being in the NFL, you're going to get hit. Once you get that first hit, you're going to start getting used to it. And making those throws, you're going to have to make those throws because you're going to be forced to do it because the playbook says that you have to do these things or you're not going to start. So I think with that pressure and that foot being on his neck at this level, I think he will learn to make those adjustments really fast. I'm not worried about the leadership side of it. I think he, if I was to compare him and Kirk right now, I think Jaren Hall would probably be the better leader out of the two. Like if you put him and had him do an assignment that's all written assignment on leadership, I think Jaren Hall scores the highest out of Kirk. And I think that's what people are really going to like about him because he's a really selfish guy or unselfish guy too. So I don't think you have to worry about that, which helps him because you don't have to teach the leadership quality and the selflessness and wanting to win games and stuff like that. The thing you have to teach is the arm talent. So that makes a coach's job a little easier saying, hey, I think I can build your confidence in making this throw. Was it a confidence thing? That's the thing that it's hard to determine on tape. Was he not confident in making the throw? And what was BYU's offense asking him to do versus when he gets with the Vikings, what is KOC and those guys out there going to help him do? I mean, damn sure having a Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson on your team
Right.
makes you a little bit more confident, going into the next level because he's going to have a lot of help as my camera's flipping out here.
Here's a couple questions just real quick that they've been out there a while. Does he use the laces when he throws the ball from Davy Chains? You've seen him.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to use the laces to, make accurate throws. I mean, it just is what it is. Like, it's not that mechanically. Like, I think he has a really quick release. I don't think he has this obnoxious windup like Anthony Richardson has. Yeah. I think mechanically in the pocket and making it, his anticipation with throws is fine. It's the type of throws that he's going to be asked to make and in the tight windows that he's going to be asked to make those throws in that I have concerns with at the next level.
And do you think you're a Two Evil Hope? Can you coach like KOC mentor and coach up Hall to the next level? Does he have like a percentage chance of being a starter caliber player? Do you think? I guess is what Two Evil Hope's asking.
It's really hard to say.
Risky.
I don't think it's. Yes, it's high risk, high reward, of course. But I think he's not going to look as bad as some of the other quarterbacks like Stetson Bennett and things like that. I think
you're a Florida State fan. Christian Ponder, is he better than Christian Ponder?
No, Christian Ponder coming out of college was he was a complete quarterback. I don't know what happened in the collapse to the NFL.
I'll
So
tell you what happened to Christian Ponder. That's easy. He got stuck with Adrian Peterson and a coach that was still of the 1985 mindset where Adrian was the best player and you were the most successful running him the ball. The problem is that if you run Adrian Peterson on first down and second down and you're always putting your quarterback in 3rd and 8 and you've run 7 offensive plays and you haven't let him throw the ball yet, he can't get into rhythm when the only chance he has to get into rhythm is 3rd and 8. That was the biggest problem with Christian Ponder is they said, no, we're going to let you play action off Adrian Peterson. The problem is that they force-fed Adrian Peterson to it. I'm not saying that, if Kevin O'Connell was the head coach of the Vikings back then, that Christian Ponder would have been a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that part of what doomed Ponder is they never let him sink or swim. They always tried to protect him and kept the training wheels on him so much. They never took the training wheels off.
Yeah.
That was his biggest problem to me. Oh, I know.
Yeah, for sure.
What's up, Rap? I see you. We see. What's up, Skull Mafia? How y'all doing?
I totally agree with that sentiment. I mean, you have to draft a Christian Ponder knowing that he proved enough to you in college for him to come in and confidently run an offense. I mean, Jimbo Fisher had 3 quarterbacks that got drafted in the first round. E.J. Manuel, Christian Ponder was the next one, and Jameis Winston was the one after that. You could say that Christian Ponder was actually in the Heisman conversation his last year.
Right.
Until the Heisman came around. And those guys just played better than him. Jameis Winston won it his first year, so you can't say that Jimbo Fisher didn't know how to coach quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So his pedigree of molding quarterbacks was good, and you wanted to take a gamble on that. Now, when Christian Ponder got there, I absolutely agree with you. It was Adrian Peterson's team. So you're asking a guy that has primarily relied on his arm the whole time to hand the ball off 25 to 30 times a game and not being able to make plays.
Not being able to get in rhythm.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to grasp on. I mean, a lot of people will say, yeah, Christian Ponder sucked at this level. Yeah, but have a fair assessment in college, he was one of the best quarterbacks that Florida State had ever had. So you drafted because you saw what he had did as far as his resume. So I think Christian Ponder and Jaron Hall is kind of an unfair assessment because Jaron Hall didn't accomplish the things that Christian Ponder did. He was always on a 10 or 11, 12, win team. They were winning the ACC championship year after year after year after year, and he proved that he was good. So Jaron Hall, I think they got ranked number 13 was the highest that he did, and that was because they played 5 Pac-12 schools that they actually were competitive with. Last year was kind of a disaster for him. I mean, we're giving the excuses for everybody not having good weapons and stuff like that. The best thing that Jaron had at BYU was his offensive line. They do that well all the time. They recruit well at offensive linemen. But, I mean, name a good weapon that came out of BYU this year last year outside of Tyler Algier, who ran for 1,000 yards with the Falcons. His best weapon was gone. Isaac Rex was the next one to tight end, and he had ankle problems last season and barely played. So you kind of handicapped Jaron Hall there, but then also last year was his time to prove that without those weapons, you have to perform with them. And he didn't do that by all accounts. It just, he had a down year. So
do you feel like this might be just a cheaper option at backup for us that we could let a Mullins go and have, who knows what happens in 2024?
I think he beats out Mullins. I actually
might beat
do.
him out this year as the backup.
I think he's your backup for a long time. I think that is your bullseye projection for Jaron Hall. This is how much I like Jaron Hall. I think he's a Chad Henne in the league that'll play 12 years solid, be the best backup for a lot of teams, make a lot of money, and win you a couple games. So, but the guy got drafted. What was it, in the 5th round for a reason?
Right. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, more or less, so to speak.
Exactly, and that's commendable. You if Kirk goes down or Kirk has an off night, you want the guy to step in that you already know is respected by his teammates. He's going to do that. He's going to be able to launch the ball downfield to Justin Jefferson. So at the end of your game, you're not going to be like, well, we had a scared backup that wasn't able to throw the ball down the field to our best weapon. That's not going to happen. He's going to take the chances downfield, and you're going to feel good about it even during the loss. You're going to be like, well, Jaron did everything that he could. I mean, just is what it is. We just lost this one.
Circling back to a comment that was made earlier, I mean, he is 25 years old, but to your point that you had made, then everybody knows he did take 2 years off completely away from that. Do you throw any stock into, okay, yeah, he's biologically 25, but football age is 23? I mean, you had talked about he might be better suited to be going to a team that's just going to throw him out there and let him sink or swim. I mean, do you throw any credence to that portion at all?
Yeah, I mean, experience early in your life, having those ups and downs is way better than having the experience later on in your life, especially in football years. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of like the anomaly to that situation, but that doesn't happen a lot. You know, that's why people draft. That's his problem. That was Stetson Bennett's problem. That was a lot of these kids coming out, and partially due to COVID too. I mean, a lot of these guys are playing on COVID red shirts, so they're just going to be naturally old coming into this league. It just is what it is. They had to deal with it. I would have liked to see, and this will prove your point here, Justin. I would have loved to see Jaron Hall have one more year at BYU and come out when he's 24, then have 2 decent years, and come out when he's 25.
Right.
So his timetable was cut short because of personal growth and COVID. You know what I'm saying? And Zach Wilson being your quarterback.
Right.
So, yeah, I would just say this, like I said, I think you throw Jaron in there, get him the experience, but it's not going to happen. It's kind of like with Max Duggan and DTR this year. They got drafted in very unlikely situations that they're ever going to start. So the advice that I would give to Max, because he's not going to start over Justin Herbert. DTR is not going to start over. Who did he go to? Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank?
I know, I just drew a blank too. Hold on, we'll see if the internet can.
While you're thinking of that, Purple Pocket Podcast says Mahomes Hall, he calls him, about to be QB1
the
this
Browns.
year. Stop playing with my boy.
Yeah, so Dorian Thompson-Robinson is not going to. He probably has the best shot because you don't know if Deshaun Watson is going to have another poop year like he did last year. So he probably has the best chance. But then you have Jaron Hall. They're starting under 3 veteran quarterbacks now that are really top 3 or 4. They're not going to start over them unless they go in the preseason, perform really well, take advantage of every chance that they'll get, even if it's one play coming off the field and they do something with it. They literally have to interview for other spots in free agency. That is going to come down the pike. That's really what they have to do. Take advantage of your chance, prove people wrong, wait for your chance to come back around where you may be a starter on another team, because it's unlikely it's going to happen. They got dealt a really shitty deck of cards
just
in the draft.
Bit.
Yeah.
Shout out Mike Sports 5 and GMAT.
Might have the comment of the night here. He won't start over Deshaun Weinstein.
All right.
I hadn't heard that one. So is now any other Hendon Hooker got drafted. Do you feel like the same situation with him? Very productive in college. Do you feel like he would have been an option for us? He went much earlier, obviously, but the same type of really good production in college, at least in 2 years. He actually probably even a better 2-year stint than Hall had.
It was the best 2-year stint in college football. I'm not going to sell Hendon Hooker short here. The dude was like 51-7 before he got hurt in his 2 years at Tennessee. And Tennessee was
51-7.
He was like 51-7. I mean, it was outrageous. And Tennessee was not good until him and Josh Heupel, his coach, got there. Like, they literally turned the program around, just those two. Jalen Hyatt wasn't his number 1 target before last year. It was Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman got hurt last year. So he wasn't even the best wide receiver. Jalen Hyatt wasn't the best wide receiver on this team when healthy. So I'm not gonna sell Hendon Hooker short. It was unfortunate that he got hurt, and that was his vice right there. That was the worst thing that could have happened to him because he was a first round pick.
I guarantee he was. He was.
Oh,
he was such good production, and
I said
even the athletic traits were pretty high.
I think you should have went him, but I don't mind the Lions picking him up either. I mean, the Lions picked him up knowing that, if Jared Goff has a down year, and Jared Goff has been taking advantage of his opportunity with the Lions. I'll tell you that. I mean, that dude fought through adversity, and I didn't really think Jared Goff was that great, but he went to a good situation because they're going to throw him in once Jared Goff is hurt or gets hurt or does bad. So he has the best situation out of all four of the quarterbacks that got chosen late. So,
his injury was the only thing that scared me away from him. If he hadn't been injured, I would have had him right there with Anthony Richardson.
Well, you thought his age too, I think, right?
I said his injury was the bigger one, his injury and the age, because like when Dante was saying he had the full leg brace on, by the time he gets healthy, and then he's really if he hadn't been injured, the age wouldn't have bothered me as much as it did. So it's all in conjunction.
Most of the detractors that came on the show were basically like he won't be able to do anything this year, and that he'll have to be the starter next year because Cousins hasn't been extended, at least as of yet. But Lions had kind of an interesting draft because I think people would have liked their draft better if they picked their guy in the second round first.
It was S tier. There was nothing they did wrong. All was forgiven when DeAndre Swift got traded.
Well, right, because they've got the running back, right? But it's almost like people would have been happier with their draft if they took the guy they took first, and then flipped everybody. Like they did it in reverse order. It's like odd. You think, oh my god, this draft is crazy. Then they get Branch, and it's like, and they Hendon Hooker, right? So it's like if they had things in reverse, people would have liked it better, which is odd. I think they had a good draft.
Well, there's a reason why Brian Branch dropped too, because there's no way that all these teams just skipped out on him. There's something obviously wrong there because the dude is a generational talent and dropped. Same thing with Josh Downs. Josh Downs went in the fourth round or something like that to the Colts. It's like we were like screaming at our screens like somebody draft him, and he dropped right into the Colts' lap. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I think maybe a lot of these teams knew they wanted the guy that they wanted, and they stuck with it, and they weren't going to let up. And that's just is what it is. And the Lions were kind of in a situation where they got C.J. Gardner-Johnson on a 1-year deal, and the guy that plays most like C.J. Gardner-Johnson in this draft was Brian Branch.
Isn't that funny?
That's crazy. I mean, their draft was like, it went from like a B+ to S tier when they got rid of DeAndre Swift. Because it was like, why are they picking him up when they got DeAndre Swift? Then they traded him, got more draft capital, and I was like, well, I mean, if you're going to trade him, you got the next best thing. And Jahmyr Gibbs was absolutely everything for Alabama's offense for Bryce Young. I mean, he was their top receiver and their top running back last year. Crazy. Yeah, kid's good.
What do you think about Mo Ibrahim not getting drafted? I'm sorry, Dave. What do you think about Mo Ibrahim not getting drafted?
As much as we hoped that he was going to get drafted, we knew that there was a possibility in the back of their minds that his age and injury history were going to make him go undrafted. Right. And guess who sniped him too? The Lions.
And that's funny. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
What am I watching? 8 Mile Sports Talk. I don't know that one, but I was going to say Will Levis. I don't think you were a big fan of him, and
I called it. I called it that he was not going to be a first-round pick. Quarterbacks is my thing, man. Quarterbacks is my thing. That's all I got to say. Quarterbacks is my thing, and I knew it, because how many times were we going to make excuses for this kid before it was a bad thing? All you heard, he didn't have the weapons, he didn't have the offensive line, he had offensive coordinator issues, he didn't perform well at his pro day or at the combine, but he did well at his pro day. Like, all we've given for this kid when he didn't perform against Vanderbilt, who sucks, didn't perform against Tennessee when they had Hendon Hooker, he threw 3 interceptions, didn't show up to the Senior Bowl. Like, didn't show up to his bowl game when they have NIL, so there's no reason not to show up and be there for your team. Bryce Young showed that. Did Bryce Young end up getting hurt? Nope. Him and Will Anderson, who were the top 3 picks this year, played in their bowl game. How about that? But you're talking about Will Levis? Nobody showed up to the dude's birthday party.
Is that the guy from the what is it? The draft movie? Nobody showed up at his birthday party.
No, that happened.
This really happened. But this
this really happened. Nobody showed up to Will Levis. None of his teammates did. And that was one of the big talks that happened in college football last year. Was like he had a birthday party and none of his teammates showed up.
That actually happened in the movie, and it happened in real life.
Yeah, he's Bo Callahan in real life. It just is what it is. He's Bo Callahan.
Where do you think he should have been? Like, where should he have been taken?
Exactly where he got taken.
Okay.
Tennessee took it the right spot.
It was great for them. It was great. It was great for them. But here's why I don't mind Tennessee taking the Will Levis pick. Because you have Malik Willis, who's not going to work out for them. They've already given up on him. I called that too, Dave. I called him too, and people thought I was crazy. I said he's not going to be anything what people think he is. You could be a nice kid and do stuff for the homeless and all that and speak really well. It doesn't translate on the field. I'm sorry. Like this is what the media does. They try to pull the wool over our eyes about people. Will Levis is the total opposite. He's an asshole.
Who was your top 3 last year? Who was your top 3 last year?
My top 3 quarterbacks last year.
Yeah.
Matt Corral was my number 1.
I said he was the most. I said he was the most.
Who got drafted last year?
Pickett from Pittsburgh to Pittsburgh.
Pickett got picked first.
Pickett wasn't in my top. He was in my top 5, but he wasn't that high. Why am I drawing a blank on last year's draft?
Because the last year's quarterback draft class was just so not memorable.
Atlanta's quarterback.
Yeah.
So we had. Oh yeah, Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder. I knew that he was super vanilla though. So. All right, so we had Bailey Zappi, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Brock Purdy, and Skylar Thompson. I definitely had Matt Corral first. I remember I had Sam Howell second. And I believe I had Bailey Zappi third. So that's where I was with all of that.
Yeah, I liked Ridder because of his athletic ability, and he had that freaking 4 speeders, or I don't know, he was super fast. And he seemed like he had a good enough arm, and I liked his height more than I liked Corral. But that's the only reason.
Corral is the guy I still think y'all should go get.
Yeah.
I still think he is a diamond in the rough. I think I told you, Justin. I think Matt Corral he's the highest quarterback I ever scouted since Andrew Luck. He can make every throw. He's gutsy.
Really?
He's got really good legs. People I don't care about the size thing. Like I really don't. Like if you can play, you can play. But he is like what you want in a prototypical quarterback right now. I mean, we'll wait for stuff to develop before he starts running. Can be athletic when you want him to be athletic. Can make he has a gun for an arm. Like he's really good, man. And it's just unfortunate that Bryce Young is just a little bit better, So
I guess let's talk about some Vikings.
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna ask one quick. Is Malik Willis worth a 7th round flyer, or is he just damaged goods, not even worth? I mean, it's only been 1 year. I mean, I'm just curious. What do you think of that?
I'm just not big on Malik Willis, man. Okay. I really don't think he does anything well. I'll tell you where I got checked out on him. They were actually playing Matt Corral. It was him and Matt Corral when he was at Liberty, and they played each other. And I went into that week saying, we're going to see what Malik Willis is about. Because you're playing literally the person that does everything you do, but better. And Matt Corral showed out, and Malik Willis fell flat on his face when he was getting all the hype. And there was one play in particular I remember to this day. They were like on the 30-yard line, and it was a 3rd and 3. They had all their wide receivers bunched up on the left side hash. And all he had to do was either throw the dump off pass to the right or run for the first down. What did he decide to do? He rolled out to the right. There was nobody there. First down marker was right there. Malik Willis forced it downfield, and the ball gets batted down when it could have been an interception. I was like, why? You could have either threw the swing route or you could have ran for the first down. What are we doing? And I knew right there and there, I was like, that was it for me. I got checked out real fast.
Okay.
We had a question.
7th round quarterback? Yeah, I mean, that's where you pick him if you think you can develop him.
I said this, Mateo here, I like Downs more than Addison, to be honest. What do you think of Jordan Addison where we took him? There was a run on receivers, and we took him at the end of the run, I think.
Yes.
A lot of people didn't think he'd follow us, but some actually, and others have mocked him to us. So
I mocked him to you a couple times on y'all shows. I love it. I mean, if you weren't going to go after Brian Bresee, you go get Jordan Addison. And that's what you guys did. I was really happy for you guys because he's not going to try to compete to be the number one because he knows that Justin Jefferson is the number one. He's going to come in there and be his own type of guy to alleviate the pressure. You got a short hands guy. He can run every route. He's not afraid to go across the middle. Contact balance is insane. And the only knock I have on him, and he was my number one wide receiver going into this class. The only knock I have on him is his top of the route speed is not. He's not like he burns out of steam really, really quickly. He's like Bijan Robinson. Like Bijan Robinson is ranked really, really high for some people, but the biggest knock on him is he doesn't have that game breaking speed downfield.
He doesn't have that 5th gear. He's only got 4 gears.
Exactly. It's the same thing with Jordan Addison, but I've seen him make some crazy, amazing catches. He was a former Biletnikoff winner.
I've seen a Justin Jefferson type catch, except not as much people, not someone,
he literally
on both ends. I seen one of those catches from him. Yeah,
he literally won 2 quarterbacks, trophies. Like literally, Kenny Pickett got a high draft pick because of him, and Caleb Williams, he was a big part of the reason why he won the Heisman last year.
There's talk that the USC misused him, Addison.
USC did?
Yeah, like they used him, on bubble screens and short routes.
He was hurt. I mean, he was hurt for like four or 5 games last year too.
I'm just saying what I heard. I'm not saying what I saw, but there was talk that how many games was he out?
I think it was like 4 or 5 games last year. I know he was at quite a bit because he only had like 800 yards.
Right.
They were talking about how they might used him more as like a bubble screen, like they didn't throw many routes downfield to him, things like that. I don't know. That was some talk yesterday. I heard.
That's a Caleb Williams issue, which this is why I'm not high on.
Oh yeah, so it was brought up earlier that you're not fond of Caleb.
I'm not. I think he's gonna drop. I think he's gonna drop this year. Mario Williams is his only target that stayed. The other wide receiver that was there transferred to Nebraska, and yeah, Jordan Addison that's gone. He doesn't have a good tight end. Travis Dye is gone. You lost him this year. Like offensive lineman, Voorhees is gone. He got chosen. That was our best offensive lineman. He's going to struggle. Lincoln Riley quarterbacks never do good their second year around when they stay. This is what happened and why. What's his name? Spencer Rattler had left. His second year around, he didn't do all that great. And now he's in South Carolina. So, I mean, Caleb Williams made a lot of plays with his feet. That's not going to work this year. It's not. People are going to figure that out really, really quick in the Pac-12. They know your formula now. I mean, you can cut your hair, do all that stuff that you want to do, but it's not going to save you from people figuring you out. They got a whole year of tape in the Pac-12 on you. It's a way harder your second time around. That's why people don't repeat. When was the last time we had a repeat Heisman winner?
Didn't the other USC quarterback back in the mid-2000s, Matt Leinart, didn't he win back-to-back? Or did Reggie Bush win one of those? That's right.
Yeah, Reggie Bush won, though. Yeah. Right. Archie Griffin is the only one to win back-to-back Heismans. We haven't seen one since. It's crazy. And people think he's going to win it again.
We might have saw Tebow do it, right? And then it was...
But Tebow had Percy Harvin, who never got enough love.
Yeah, that's true too. I think I thought I read what Dave was saying is that when he was at Pitt, Addison we're talking about here now, that he had more down the field stuff. Are you saying that was more a product of him coming off of his injury and missing some time, and maybe the quarterback as well, or?
Addison got worked a lot at Pittsburgh, and like I said, he's the reason why Kenny Pickett got the high draft pick he did. They used him everywhere. When he came over to USC, I honestly think he was still battling some stuff from having such a crazy season. I mean, I forgot what they said, how many snaps he had played. It was close to 500 snaps of offense that he played at Pittsburgh. And then this year he was like in the 300s, but some of that was due to injury. So they were still using him a ton. I mean, everywhere that they could. I mean, if you watch their games, there was a lot of screen passes going to him and a lot of Caleb Williams waiting forever to throw the ball, waiting for something to develop downfield and then chucking it up. And Jordan Addison was there to get it and then getting crunched. I mean, Jordan Addison's a small guy too. I mean,
he works back to the ball. Like he knows how to. If someone's scrambling, he just doesn't stand there or go deep. He comes back and tries to find the open spot. I feel like he's got that football intelligence. You're
absolutely right. That's one of the reasons why I like him so much. Every single rep to Jordan Addison matters. That's one thing that when I scout players, I want to see. That's why I like Charlie Jones out of Purdue so much. The dude will do anything. Block, run off a route. Even during there's a lot of decoys that happen with run plays, not to get onto the playbook, but you guys see this on Sundays all the time where you just run your route. Like they think it's going to be a pass play, but it's really a run play. You're just trying to take that defender out of the play, take him outside the numbers. So your guy can create some space. Jordan Addison's really good at that. I mean, every time he runs a route, you think it's a pass play. I mean, you've automatically taken that corner out the play completely. He doesn't have to block
Randy
anybody.
Moss.
Oh no,
Come
Randy Moss is a freak. The closest thing you got to Randy Moss is Justin Jefferson right now.
But I'm saying like a Randy Moss would just stand there if the play's not going to him. That's why people would crack on Randy Moss, is like he'd take plays off or whatever. But you would too if you're running flies every damn play.
I think this. I honestly do, in every fiber of my being for you guys. I really think this duo is probably the most dangerous thing here in the next 2 years. And I'm going to compare it to Randy Moss and Chris Carter Jr. because I think Jordan Addison to me is one of the best pass catching wide receivers. Zay Flowers on the other end is not. I mean, a lot of people love what he does, but he doesn't catch the most simple passes. Jordan Addison is completely different. He'll go after it like Chris Carter did. He's better a pass catcher than Justin Jefferson. I mean, Justin Jefferson's got the highlight film, but you've seen Justin Jefferson just drop the most dumb passes ever to every wide receiver does it. So you're going to have Mr. Reliable, and you're going to have the dude that everybody's scared to go against on Sundays on the same team. It's going to be Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen on steroids, or Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs on steroids. They're going to be... I can guarantee you in the next 2 years, people are going to be talking about wide receiver duos, and you're not going to be talking about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, or none of them dudes. You're going to be talking about Jordan Addison and J.J. for a long time. I think they complement each other really, really well.
I think that's the biggest thing. I would have said going into the draft, Jackson Smith and Jigba was my number one, and Addison was my number two. But I do agree, and I'll make that Addison is probably the best complement to Justin Jefferson out of all the wide receivers.
Absolutely. I was happy for you guys when you guys got that pick. I was like, that is absolutely the correct move you make here outside of somebody like Brian Bresee. That's the only one that I would have been like, I get it. And I hope Josh Downs falls to you guys. You know what I'm saying? And he did. He was falling down. I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? You guys could have got him, but you absolutely got the right pick, and it helps Justin Jefferson out. And unfortunately, it alleviates, for a lot of people that don't like Kirk, it alleviates pressure off of Kirk too, to have two reliable targets like that. I mean, you guys wanted Adam Thielen and KJ Jefferson to be that. There's no doubt in my mind Jordan Addison would be that guy for you for a long time. And the other thing that makes this so crazy is JJ gets to play wherever he wants now. Mm-hmm. You can plug him anywhere because he was like that in college. He was good in the slot. He was good on the outside of the numbers, left and right side of the field. And you have somebody that's almost just as good as that too, But I don't think Jordan Addison's going to play that much inside for you guys if they watched his tape enough. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did their research. But JJ in the slot and like Jordan Addison in the X, man, that's gonna be nasty on Sundays.
Now you didn't give us a big grade. We don't have to. You don't have to give it to us. But since you love this pick so much, where did we go wrong? Let me put this guy up. Next guy. Hang on. Sorry. Mekhi Blackman, we took in the third round. Now, just to set this up a little bit, the ESPN had him 30th cornerback. And NFL.com had him like 41st. I had to go to the third page to find him, and nobody in the second page got drafted yet. But PFF ranked him like second best, had the second highest ranking on him behind Witherspoon. So, what were your thoughts of when we picked
who had him behind Witherspoon?
PFF, like their grade.
So the thing I love PFF.
They didn't rank him there, I don't think, but PFF graded him there.
I bet you if I go look on PFF right now, and I love PFF, but the thing about it, they're going to grade him off of performance and not off of where teams were ranked and things like that. Yeah, so you could have a 99 against Old Dominion, but are they really that good? You know what I'm saying?
Where's the disconnect then between like grade, scouts, the Vikings liking him in the third round, and ESPN and PFF or ESPN and NFL.com. I mean, when he got drafted, the announcers were raving about him. So yeah, I guess I think there's a common theme here. Addison, Blackman, both hard workers, show up early, want to face iron sharpens iron type of players.
Yeah, that's great.
What I saw.
Mekhi Blackman is, again, played on a defense that was him and Tuli Tuipulotu were the best two, and the rest of their team was absolute trash. But the Pac-12 played trash team. All their defenses were trash. Mekhi Blackman, I remember the Oregon game, him getting worked. Name one good receiver at Oregon. Even if you watch college football, there's no standout. Their best receiver, not to get morbid, was Spencer Webb that passed away in the spring. And if he was playing on Oregon, they would have been the best team in the Pac-12. So they lost their best weapon, and they still got worked. This is what I'll say. You guys picked him up in the third round, and you guys missed out on two cornerbacks that are way better. Clark Phillips. And first, let me give you the reason why I think they picked him. Because of him and Jordan Addison's relationship. I truly believe that. I truly believe Jordan Addison was like, I think he would be okay. And I kind of am okay with that. I like synergy. I like guys that played against each other. I like guys that bring in familiar faces because they know how each other's practice, and hopefully him going against JJ in practices and stuff will make him better. That's what you hope. Right. So I think this was a hopeful pick based off of synergy, but I think the absolute person that you guys missed out on was Clark Phillips.
We were talking about that in our group chat offline.
Clark Phillips.
Both GGs were like, get Clark Phillips.
Clark Phillips was awesome last year. It's just his size. He's tiny. But the dude that gave him the most problems and the dude that he gave most problems to reminded me of Jalen Ramsey and DeAndre Hopkins. It reminded me of that, just the constant battle. Clark Phillips and Jordan Addison had some of the best battles last year when they were up against each other. It was awesome. I mean, Jordan Addison got some on him. Clark Phillips got some on him too. I mean, he's truly locked down. The other one is Keely Ringo.
Yeah.
So yeah, he kept.
There's no way. Yeah.
I mean, I did a video on him, and he was like he was getting mocked into first, second. He was rated there, and he fell so far. And I didn't because I was looking at him and Porter Jr. in video. I did 2 videos, and I just saw. It seemed like I'm only watching their highlights, so I'm not going too deep here. It's like in their highlights, if I see them, really handsy and hugging receivers, I'm like, these are their highlights. What are they doing when I'm not watching? So that was my only worry about him. But yeah, to the late third like that, I'm like, yeah, let's take him. No problem.
You can, and from the highlights, I mean, with Keely Ringo, his whole team was good too. But the thing about Keely Ringo is the big misconception is, yes, it shows up on highlights that he's kind of handsy, but the thing between him and Joey Porter's way too physical. Keely Ringo at times,
I agree.
Keely Ringo at times can be handsy, but he's too timid. So I was telling people, I wish I could line them up, slice them in half, and put the other halves, on the opposite sides and combine them together, because they're like the same instincts, but opposite skill sets as far as physicality.
Why did those two guys drop as far as they did? Porter and Ringo.
Again, I think this draft was all about they liked who they liked, and the interviews too, and then also you have to put in account for Clark Phillips especially, and Mekhi Blackman kind of got the card because of Jordan Addison. I truly believe that, but Clark Phillips plays in the Pac-12 where they don't play defense. It's hard. I mean, if you're like, Clark Phillips was the best quarterback in the Pac-12, yeah, but they suck. All their teams were statistically like really bad last year.
Right.
So I mean, how much are you going to take stock into that too? I mean, but there was so many different areas that people need to beef up on, and one of them wasn't cornerbacks this year. That's why. And here's going to prove my point, Dave. Look at the 6th and 7th rounds and see how many cornerbacks fell. Corey Trice from Purdue was projected to be a 2nd-round pick, and he dropped all the way to the 6th or 7th round.
I was looking at him too. I was like, here's a 6'2" corner sitting there for us. Let's take him. And I'm like, okay,
and he was pretty good. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with him. But the thing is, a lot of people were picking their cornerbacks up really late in the draft. Nobody needed it. They were all depth pieces, unfortunately.
It was a deep corner draft too. Let me give some shout outs. He's been on here a long time, Tristan, and I don't even and all Salt. Appreciate being on, man. Crown Jews as usual, man. As usual, awesome. And Viking Jerome, Skull, man. Let's go. Dig that.
Zach in the building too. What's up, Zach?
Zach, thanks for showing up. You just sneezed while you were peeing.
Oh, okay. Come on, dude.
We just have a winner right now of the worst comment.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? My goodness.
And then,
welcome, Zach, in all seriousness.
So we went a couple of teammates too, but the second group of teammates, starting with Jay Ward at safety. Everybody's calling him like maybe a jackknife, or not jackknife, but like a Swiss Army knife. He's like can play any position. We, I guess, announced him as a cornerback when we drafted him. Doesn't have
Jay Ward as a cornerback.
Yeah, I think we announced him as a cornerback, right?
Yes.
I mean, scared me. Am I wrong?
I mean, in LSU, he played in the box and sort of nickel, but he's a safety.
But apparently we announced him as a cornerback. But again, this is who knows where he's going to play. But
he's going to be special teams for you guys. Unfortunately,
yeah. Here he's
Jay Ward is really bad at LSU.
Player. He's a great special teams player, and one of those. Well, they talked about Lewis Cine being the heart of the defense at Georgia. Like all the players, Cine was heart of the defense. A lot of the commentators are saying that Jay Ward had
over Nakobe Dean. Who said this? Who said this? This crazy.
Am I wrong, Justin? Last year, when all the players were talking about, they were interviewing players. Who would you want to, who would you want to go to battle with? And they were like to a man saying Lewis Cine. I'm not lying.
I just watched a podcast of several Georgia players talking about how Nakobe Dean was the heart and soul of that defense when he was there. He was the vocal leader.
Maybe
in the secondary.
Maybe it's because the camera was on. Yeah, maybe it was because the camera on who they were asking about. So
I'll agree that he probably was the heart and soul for the secondary. Okay. But for that defense, it was Nakobe Dean.
Justin acting like you didn't hear that last year.
No, I did not hear that last year. Sorry, boss.
Are you kidding me? All right. All right.
I remember when that kid, I believe it was Tristan. I'm drawing a blank on his name. When he screwed up in the national championship, and Nakobe Dean walks up to him, he's like, "What are you doing, man? Get your head in the game." And then the next play, Nakobe Dean comes in and makes like the game saving. Play of the game, makes this amazing play. Like the dude is, yeah. Probably, I'll probably agree that he probably was for the secondary, because he was amazing, man.
I'm just repeating the news.
I got you.
But
So you don't
anyways,
think Jay?
the commentators were
yeah.
talking about how Jay Ward had that similar moniker at LSU. I don't know.
Jay Ward's interesting, but LSU's worst part of their defense last year was their secondary, and it wasn't the fact that they were getting burnt on every down. It's like the good wide receivers were giving them work. I remember it was us that they played week 1. Yeah, it was Florida State versus LSU, and they had a tough time in the middle of the field with big receivers, and Jay Ward was non-existent. I was like, what is this dude doing? He couldn't tackle. And then later on, what was the game that I watched? Man, I can't remember which game, but I just remember we were eating up the middle. Somebody was eating up the middle of the field in runs, outside runs where the nickel was supposed to make. Yeah, he wasn't that great. I mean, in the 4th round, again, obviously they like him for a reason. So who am I to dock it?
I think what they like about him is the versatility. Now, to your point, you can have versatility if you're not good at any of them, and then what good does that do you? But he did play outside, inside, and some of the safety. And I think what they see in him, just from what I can tell, is novices is that okay? You got a Byron Murphy in here who can play both outside and inside. You've got Harrison Smith back there, and you've got a bunch of question marks in Booth Jr. and a Caleb Evans coming off injuries of some sort. That I think that they like Jay Ward as a piece that, if necessary, can play multiple positions in the secondary. Again, that's just what the tea leaves have said anyway.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that were versatile in this draft tend to drop, i.e. Brian Branch, John Michael Schmitz, Osiris Torrance. A lot of those guys that were able to play really high positions that in any other draft probably would have been chosen in the first. I don't think a lot of teams were willing to hedge their bet this year. I think they need to get that for sure pick, and that we're really good at something and not really, decent in a lot of different things. We want to master your position, not the jack of all trades in our first couple of picks. Right. And I think that's just kind of like what happened with him too. I'm not saying that you can't mold a guy. I love LSU guys, I really do. And him coming to you guys is warm weather. I've never had big stock in warm weather guys going to cold weather situations, but you guys playing a dome, so half of his games will be played in, well, more than half, because the Lions playing one too. But when he gets to Green Bay, what is he really made of? And and things like that. So
that's another reason why I like Aston, because he's an East Coast guy. He didn't just played a Pitt, but then he played.
I'm willing to forgive the weather thing because he won the Biletnikoff and he had to play in some bad weather.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
His quarterback had such small hands too.
Yeah, and he's a tiny dude, and I'm willing to. I don't care about the cold weather, warm weather thing, but for a pick like this being all the way from the dirty South and then coming all the way up there to the chilly North.
Confirmation, Andrew.
What's up, Andrew?
Greenwitz,
shout out, Andrew.
100% said they said that about Scene. All right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, another person agreed with me. That's all I want to know.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't crazy. But yeah, well, he won the MVP in the championship game, so that was pretty cool. The defensive MVP, anyways. But we went on.
He didn't know what to do. LSU was like top 10 this year too. So I wasn't saying that they were bad. It's just their secondary sold a lot of the times.
I was referring to
Jaqueline Roy though. I love this. Their best part of their defense was their run stop. So getting Jaqueline Roy in the 5th round, I love this.
Now the debate's out there: is it Jaqueline or Jaqueline? Because
Jaqueline, yeah.
Keenan or Key and Peel would be. I want to be able to use that reference all year long and call him Jaqueline. That'd be my preference. But hey, I think what you're saying is the run defense. That's great. It's good to hear because in the video, the highlights, of course, because I don't go deeper. He seemed like gap integrity. He seemed hard to move. He seemed intelligent as far as not overshooting a play, that kind of thing. He just seemed like he's very, very meat and potatoes, solid player How is he at all about getting a push up the middle?
You're not going to use him in any pass rush situations, but that's not his game. His game has always been the middle of the field is mine, upper body strength. That's one thing that they always harped on with him at LSU is like his upper body strength is so good that a lot of blockers are going to have a tough time getting to him. So once you have those ISO plays up the middle and things like that, he's most likely going to get a hand on the running back. And that's why I like this pick for you guys, because a lot of people want to draft the Aaron Donalds and these hybrid defensive tackle 3-tech. Like, it's not all about that. That's why Kalijah Cansey is either going to be really good or he's going to be a bust. Like, we don't know what that hybrid defensive tackle position is, and Aaron Donald has spoiled everybody. We need to get back to the big hog mollies in the middle, like the Brian Bressees and the Siaki Ikas, and who's the guy down in Tampa Bay? Y'all know who I'm talking about, the big Samoan guy down in Tampa Bay. We need to get back to those type of guys that are just able to stop the run and be an anchor for our defense. And
Pat Williams and Tony Saragusa, those guys.
Saragusa, Haloti Nada, get those guys, and he's like that. So I love this pick, 5th round, great value. It was one of your team needs. If you weren't going to go after somebody, then you go in the SEC and you grab a guy that's really good at run stop. And that was the best part of their defense last year. Linebackers and their defensive line was awesome. So, yeah,
according
I don't mind this.
According to the name engine, it would be Jaquelin.
Jaquelin?
According to the name engine, but that's just a guess. I was trying to look for Wikipedia maybe, but the name engine says Jaquelin. So, hey, problem solved.
Shout out D-Will. What's up, D-Will? Good to see you.
What do we got here? To you, Dante, what is your focus now that the draft is passed?
Yeah, what do you do now, Dante?
What are you doing, man?
You got your 2024 mock draft out already?
I don't do mock drafts this early. I'm one of those dudes that I always wait until I'll do one after I get back from the Senior Bowl, and then from there I always do 3. Focus now is just continue to do the slider series up until the draft. I kind of slowed down with all the draft stuff right now, but I think what I'm gonna do is kind of shift my focus and try to do all 32 guys that got drafted in the first round, and kind of give everybody a really in-depth preview of every team's first draft pick. I think that's where my focus is going to be, so you can kind of look towards your future. I'll say I'm taking requests, like if somebody wants to see see a player that they need a little bit more knowledge on, then I'm gonna do that. But I'm gonna take up your idea, Justin, because you had asked me this, like, hey man, you should kind of do like a draft guide. I think next year is the year right after the season ends. I'm gonna put together a PDF of all my scouting results, timestamps of plays, and kind of share it within like our little YouTube group, where it's just like, hey man, I updated this player if you guys want to look at him, and then have like the tape attached to it so you guys can just open it up and kind of watch the plays as I went through it. I think that's better than just going to ESPN and reading off a scouting report, because I heard something the other day. They're like, he's really oily around the blocks. I'm like, what does that mean?
That was a new one.
He's got he can flip the hips really well. It's like, come on.
Like nobody. You're just trying to sound like the smartest dude in the room when there's a lot of casual people that don't know what that means. So how can I help my people out? So
let
Triple P rap down harshly and tell us what you think about Ivan Pace Jr. Because everybody was like really happy. The Viking fans were really happy that they got this guy. What do you think?
Why? Let me ask you a reverse question. Why are all the Vikings fans hyped about this pick?
I don't know. Just because people thought he was.
Well, because he led the nation in every statistical category. So
I mean, like 20 pressures and a crazy amount of tackles, and I guess it was production. I like him because he wears a midriff, like the 80s.
Hold on, let me bring up my analysis on him, because I watched tape on him like 3 weeks ago, and I'm gonna give you.
Let's be clear while you're pulling it up. He's a 2-down linebacker. He's terrible in pass coverage. He will not be a third down linebacker, to say the least. He's a guy that seems to on run plays or when he's called for the blitz. He's just looking to run into people and run over people. I will say he's not a complete linebacker to say the least. But what's up,
shout
David? How you
outs
doing?
left Krigor, Skull, and then apparently you're right.
Yeah, clip that.
Clip that.
He put Torrance on his ass. Okay.
All right.
One play.
Put Torrance on his ass. Let's go.
A lot of people put Torrance on his ass. He came from Louisiana and transferred to Florida. Y'all acting like this dude was like a highly touted guard and tackle before he got there. He transferred with what's his name? Well, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Their coach now at Florida. He transferred over with them. Like he wasn't highly touted.
Beef with Skull Mafia, man. I've done that.
He knows. He knows how I roll. I mean, everybody knows how I roll at this point. I'm not going to sugarcoat. So the best team that Ivan Pace had played last year was Arkansas, and they were on a down year. So you're telling me Kennesaw State, Miami of Ohio, Indiana, Tulsa, South Florida,
bad teams.
Southern Methodist, Central Florida. Central Florida was okay, but they weren't good defensively. Navy sucked. East Carolina had a down year. Temple, Tulane was probably the other best team, but he only had 0.5 tackles for loss. And Louisville sucked too. So, yeah, he might have been the best in the country, but I don't see a team that was dominant on this list. So that was if we want to go to statistics, that's the first thing I noticed. Now, let's go to the film. The film for me, from what I've seen Ivan Pace Jr. do, actually, let's start at the Senior Bowl, watching him in practice every single day. I have on film of him getting absolute toasted by several of these tiny running backs like Evan Hull from Northwestern in pass coverage. So he's not a pass coverage linebacker, but he's quick and he's small. So where is all the, for him being this small, why is he not speedy? I mean, you had 20 tackles for loss and 9 sacks, sir. Where's your speed and anticipation on that? Because that's not going to be good. The other thing about Ivan Pace Jr. is he's lazy. He does stuff when he wants to do stuff. So when he makes a sack, it looks incredible. When he gets a tackle for loss, it looks incredible. But what about like the other 70% of plays that he does? He looks very lazy. He's not sideline to sideline like you would love a linebacker to be, and for his size. So one guy that I would compare him to would be like a poor man's version of Miles Jack. Miles Jack came in the league as Levante David. Levante David is a better example. Levante David came in the league and he was immediate impact. The only knock on Levante David was his size, but he used his size to his advantage in being quick, getting around blockers, getting around tight ends, getting in between things because that's what he could do. I don't see that from Ivan Pace Jr. 70% of the time that you're on the field is lazy and you look confused. That's one of the things I heard in my notes. Looks frustrated and confused on most plays. It's like he doesn't know what to do other than just rush the quarterback.
Was his coach Ed Donatel?
Yeah.
That's what our linebackers looked like last year.
Cincinnati had a down year. Remember, these guys were in the top 4 schools. Mm-hmm. They got smashed against Alabama. And then, they were nowhere near close of the caliber team that they were before because they lost a lot of weapons. I mean, Sauce was going, Desmond Ridder, all those guys.
Well, I do agree with Dave. I mean, he is going to be looked to hopefully just make the team as a special team. I think, calling for him to be, the starter by week 6 as an example might be a bit aggressive. Love you, Rap. But jokes aside, I think that I'll temper my enthusiasm with the guy. I'm just kind of surprised that he just didn't get drafted at all. I mean, I would have thought somebody might have picked a 6th or 7th round flyer on him. And you know what? Again, my expectation level is tempered, but I think
it just
Brian
proves the
Flores
point
is
that
the kind of coach that's not going to let somebody be lazy. Otherwise, he ain't going to be making no team.
I don't think he's going to make the team. I really don't. Because Brian Flores is going to get in his ass. Like, I mean, he's not going to allow him to be lazy, and especially being the 30th ranked defense last year, you think he's going to want more of the same from that defense?
31st.
It was 31st, so it's even that's
put
crazy.
Some respect on that name.
Mateo said it sounds like since he is in the Big Ten, a bunch of bad teams. No, they were in the American Athletic Conference. The Big Ten actually has good defenses. Iowa was number 3 defense last year. And that was part of the reason why I thought Mo Ibrahim should have been drafted higher. He absolutely toasted them. Bijan Robinson never played the caliber of teams Mo Ibrahim did last year, and that's crazy to me. But
yeah, this comment about the Big Ten, like, no,
they're not even in the Big Ten. They're going to the Big 12 this year.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this question here sounds like Cincy is in the Big Ten. When you were listing off those names, that is not even close to Big Ten teams, in my opinion. Big Ten was all right. So
yeah.
Andre Carter ? I don't know. I guess there was a question earlier about him too, but.
You're not seeing it with Carter either. Huh?
Another dude that everybody was hyped up about, and they even had him in their first round. And I was like, Andre Carter
first
from
round,
Army?
Some people had him?
Yes. He was projected to be in the first round. And I said, he's not even going to get drafted.
Wow.
The best thing I can say about Andre Carter is he's just like Ivan Pace Jr. As far as laziness, doesn't know how to use. The thing about him is he's got the size to be a good edge rusher. But what I seen, he just was not physical at all at the Senior Bowl. On tape, I mean, it's hard to stand out when your team is bad. I get that. But the Army-Navy game, he didn't look good either. So what are people like? I don't understand what they're so hyped about Andre Carter.
It looked like a competition thing to me too. Like he was just bigger than everybody, and they couldn't block him, kind of thing.
I think Andre Carter will make the team over Ivan Pace, though.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely, make our practice squad, in my opinion.
I think he'll make your active roster. I think there's talent there. I don't think that I don't have.
Better shot if Zadarius Smith's gone.
Well, that too.
yeah. I think he's a good depth piece, and I think he's one of those guys that you can mold into something because of his intangibles. He doesn't have the size issue that Ivan Pace has, and he's a lengthy, and he's literally like Danielle Hunter. He just doesn't look like a superhero. I mean, they have like kind of the same kind of build. So, that's what you get for Andre Carter. But I don't think Ivan Pace doesn't have that.
That's a good one, D-Will. I like that. That's pretty good.
Also behind Georgia and Alabama. Our defense was below several college teams.
Our defense was 33rd. There you go.
Oh, Jesus. They're definitely better coached. I can tell you that. So let me talk about the guy I like that I think is going to be able to contribute to our team and push some people. And that is, let me bring him up. Malik Knowles out of Kansas State. I think he has showed talent and vision and kick returns, and he's size-wise, he's going to be our tallest receiver if he makes the team. So, and then he looked quick. He looked quick to me, and he catches with his hands. I don't know about his route running, but I mean, he showed shiftiness, open field ability, but the kick returning. I just think when we got our running back in the 7th round, Cook being gone, what is Kenny Nwangu going to be on this team? He did it looked like he struggled a lot running kicks back. He did get one run back this year, but other than that, he didn't really take too many long distance. I just think we got a guy that can push him at the minimum, push him at kick returner.
Yeah, I mean, I believe he had three in his career?
3, yeah.
Yeah. Malik
and
Knowles.
A couple of long ones, too. I mean, he had long ones that didn't go to the house, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember back in 2021, he was like, how they do in the media. They start comparing him to everybody that was a great kick returner ever of all time. And then he had a down year for the most part, was not averaging as much as he did the previous year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, if you guys need a special teamer, how would you rate your special teams last year as far as offense, defense?
I would say top 5 probably on average. We had 2 or 3 really, 2 really bad games, I would say, at special teams. Other than that, we were solid the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, Malik Knowles is definitely helped Kansas State out last year when I watched them. I mean, they were Big 12 champions, and he was a big part of that still. I mean, he could put your team in the right spots. Did they throw the ball
a lot or no? They didn't.
At Kansas State? Oh, absolutely.
Just asking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No idea. Adrian Martinez was the quarterback. And yeah, they threw the ball a ton. But yeah, I mean, as an unrestricted free agent and the upside of what a Malik Knowles could give you, whoever your special teams coach is can probably mold him to be a guy if you think that what you're lacking is a little bit of speed. So, I mean, he doesn't have fumbling issues or anything like that. I don't think he ever fumbled in his career. And that was one of the things that they were harping on at Kansas State is like, a lot of guys muff the ball and stuff like that in college. And I believe Malik Neighbors had a problem with that at LSU. He was really good too, but he would muff a punt. But with this guy, you don't have that problem. So sign him as an unrestricted, undrafted free agent, I think gives you a lot of value. So,
my opinion, D. Will, was that he catches with his hands. He was good in open space, and he has returner ability, so that kind of showed up when he got the ball in space. But as far as his route running, I have no idea.
So the thing about him too is you can use him as a Swiss Army knife as well. Because I think he had like 3 rushing touchdowns last year as well. So
that's true. And I said in my video a lot of jet sweep type stuff, and he broke him. He did very well.
Yeah,
on
I
some
mean,
of those gadget plays.
This is definitely a guy that you sign to your team. I mean, I don't see why you would skip out on just like having the experiment of him. I mean, what's the worst you're gonna do? If he doesn't get a wide receiver, you're gonna move him to special teams. Oh, he does well there.
I think fifth and sixth receivers wide open. 5th or 6th, depending on how many we keep. I think we only kept 5 right last year. Yeah, because we ended up putting 1 on our practice squad and cutting 2 that we thought might make it, and we ended up with really 5 receivers. And this year, I'd say we got 4 solid, because I think Jalen Naylor makes the 4th, rounds out the 4th receiver. But yeah, 5th and 6th, I think we picked up a guy in free agency, and then Jalen Rager. There's nothing scaring you about these last 2 guys, so I think Malik would have a chance to come in with the return ability. It'd be better if he could return punts.
Yeah, Malik Knowles reminds me of Jamal Agnew.
Down, I think.
He reminds me of a Jamal Agnew. Like, can play receiver pretty decent, but also is a threat in the special teams game. I'm comparing it to the Jaguars, Jamal Agnew, who can do both really, really well. So I think he's a value.
And D. Will, in my opinion, Jalen Naylor is still better. I think Jalen Naylor could be a starting receiver in this league, but that's just my opinion.
He likes Naylor more than he likes JJ.
I like him for the fact that I think he was going to be our second receiver. No, I don't like him more than JJ, but I am his probably biggest supporter. What did you think? Did you watch a lot of Jalen Naylor last year? I mean, he was easily going to have over 1,000 yards until he broke his hand. I just thought I felt it was like one of those situations. He fell to us in the 6th round because the injury history of him.
To be honest, I didn't. This is one of those ones I'll throw my hand up and say that I really don't have an opinion on Jalen Naylor. Don't want to give any misinformation, but I do remember him in college though, because it was him and Jaden Reed that really were everything for Peyton Thorne when he was there. Peyton Thorne just transferred. I don't know if you guys knew that. Peyton Thorne just transferred away from Michigan State. I mean, Jaden Reed getting drafted really, really hurt him. But I think the reason why we were talking about Peyton Thorne as their quarterback so highly was because of when Jalen Naylor and Jaden Reed were there. They were incredible. I remember Jalen Naylor specifically. One thing about Michigan State's offense at the time was that they were able to go up and just high point balls, man, in the end zone. I mean, it was outrageous.
He has one of those Odell Beckham catches.
Great hands. Yeah, I don't remember him too much from you guys last year, so I don't have an opinion on that. But in college, I specifically remember Peyton Thorne thanking the gods that he had 2 great wide receivers, and when Kenneth Walker was there too.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of playing time this past year. 13 targets, 9 catches, 179 yards, 19.9 yards per reception, 1 TD. It happened in garbage time against the Bears at the end of the season. But it was like a 43, 47 yard touchdown. So
Mhm.
But yeah, I think like in college, he was on track his senior year or his last year. Everybody had like 5, 6, years of college. But
Yeah.
yeah, he broke his hand. He was on track big time for a 1,000-yard season. So just the video that I seen, he seemed like he just he could catch with his hands, high point balls. I mean, he's big enough. He's 6 foot. I mean, he just seemed like a well-rounded receiver, and he actually shocked me a little more in like some of his practice videos, like burning Andrew Jr. in practice, and then in the first like 5 catches in the NFL were all for first downs, and he gets that 40-yard touchdown. And the next play, he puts a defensive back on skates and runs it for 10 more yards. And so just the snippets I've seen of him, I'm liking him, and I think our receiver class is so deep. KJ Osborne being our number 3, and then a guy I like as much as Naylor. Where do you think you've already said it, but where do you think our receiver duo is going to be this year? And I know you say down the road that's going to be number 1, but where do you think how good do you think Addison is going to be this year? If you projected, let's say, stats, what would you think you would get in this offense?
I think this year's projection for me, if I had to give like a too early projection for where I think your receivers are going to be, and I'm just going to say this for JJ, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, because you have to include him in the conversation.
Right.
I think JJ gets about 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. I think TJ Hawkinson gets 1,000 and like 7 touchdowns. And I think Jordan Addison's around like 5 touchdowns, like 850 yards. And that's very good production from your 3 guys.
Less than 9 inches, man. Triple P. Less than 9 inches. He knows I like hand size. Yeah, it's like 8 5/8 or something like that. So it's not that huge, but he did show he does catch the ball really well. So
who's this for? Jalen Naylor?
I guess Knowles. I don't know. Naylor's hands, I don't know. I can't remember.
Oh, for Malik Knowles? Okay.
Yeah, Knowles, I know his hands because I just recently looked at them. But yeah, it seems like and Addison's hands aren't that big either. They're not 9 inches either. So
I'm not. You know me, Dave. I'm not a big intangibles guy. If you can play, you can play.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp really broke the surface on all that. I mean, he's literally the epitome. I could play, so why does all that crap matter?
I think, it's definitely an advantage. Think about it in basketball. Pretty big advantage having big hands, honestly. Controlling that basketball.
I mean, it's an advantage, but when you got the best wide receiver season of all time, all that stuff don't matter.
I know.
Yeah.
I just,
imagine if he did have that stuff, Dave.
Right.
Imagine how crazy that season would have been.
You throw a leaping ability in there, a sub 1.5 get off at the 10-yard. You give me that.
Let me ask you, did you like Anthony Richardson?
Anthony, I liked him. I liked all his athletic ability. I thought he could develop throwing the ball. He's 50. I thought that completion percentage would come. I just thought he probably could eventually do it all. I thought he would have took more time though. I think he would have been a guy that benefited by sticking in college.
All right, so I'm asking you another question. I'm just generally curious. I mean, you guys know how I feel. I'll ask you another question, a follow-up question to that. So you think he could be developed? So why was he 6 and 7 in Florida?
I brought that up all the time as far as Hooker did it, and he didn't.
I'm actually another question. So he broke all these records, right? The other quarterback what's his comparable at quarterback?
Dante Culpepper, but faster.
Not him.
Cam Newton. No, but
Cam Newton, right? Yeah.
Completion percentage. I always made this comment. Like Dante Culpepper set an NCAA record when he left college, but I thought that's something he could have got to if he had played as long as Dante in college, and he only played one. And he's only played 1 year. But go ahead, pin me in a corner, Dante. I'm ready.
No, I'm just curious.
I mean, I was down on him, but I warmed up for the fact that hey, he's worth a chance. I do not want to get 3 first rounds for him,
Well, a lot of people
I was,
ask me about my thought process around players, so that's what
go ahead.
I'm trying to share kind of like my knowledge on how I kind of do things. It's kind of like reverse psychology, right? So if his comparable is Dante Culpepper, and we'll go Cam Newton because that's the most recent, because that's I mean literally they're carbon copies of each other when you talk about size and everything. Why did Cam Newton win a JUCO national championship, then transfer 1 year to Auburn or win a Heisman and take Auburn to a national championship? I'm just saying that because we're giving all these excuses for Anthony Richardson being the next best thing, but Cam Newton broke the mold twice and had almost the same intangibles, but we didn't give an excuse for Cam Newton in the NFL.
For me, when I think about
he
Anthony
played 3
Richardson,
times more games than.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He went to JUCO and then came up to Auburn.
I mean, they're still playing football.
He never started over Tim Tebow. That's why he transferred.
You said he played JUCO.
Yeah, he played. That's not Division I. It's JUCO. Won a championship. Came to Auburn.
So he played. Discount any prior experience.
Anthony Richardson had 1.5 solid
Dude,
games.
I'm not a big fan of Anthony Richardson as far as I would love him to death. I would have liked him if he fell and maybe we got him in the late teens or something. But yeah,
I'm not shitting on your opinion or anything. I'm just trying to have you understand how I'm thinking. I want to understand how you think and evaluate people.
I'm just thinking he only played he only played like 14 games of college football. That's why.
But it doesn't make sense to me that people like you saying that just doesn't make sense to me. That you know what I'm saying? Like logically, it's like why should I believe in this?
Let me
go
try
ahead
and break it down. First off, shout out to a couple people. What's up, Zone? Good to see you. For me, and I'm just speaking for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who is 44 years old in a couple months and has seen the Minnesota Vikings be the epitome of good, not great for decade after decade. As a Vikings fan, every decade we have 6 to 7 years where we're 7 to 10 wins, where we're right on the cusp of either making the playoffs or winning the division. And once or twice a decade, we actually push to the divisional round of the NFC Championship game. And once or twice a decade, we have 4 win or less seasons. We got the highest winning percentage of any NFL team that doesn't have a championship. Then sat through 8 years of Mike Zimmer, and prior to that, 8 years of a combination of Brad Childress and Leslie Frazier. To me, it was we finally have a head coach in Kevin O'Connell. That is an offensive-minded head coach that is in this century that I'm willing to be done being kind of mediocre or slightly above mediocre, and I'm willing to take the risk to shoot for the boom or bust. For me, would I've given up 3 first-round picks for Anthony Richardson if the offer was on the table? Yes, I would have done it. I would have tried to do it for like maybe 2 first-round picks and maybe a Danielle Hunter or something else, whatever the case may be. For me, when I look at Anthony Richardson, I say this guy is your Cam Newton comp, whatever, and sitting for 1 year behind Kirk Cousins with Kevin O'Connell. I believe that Kevin O'Connell can smooth out the rough edges, make him less green. And he's got the highest ceiling of all of the guys in the draft. So for me, it's more the mindset of what I have watched my favorite team be for decade upon decade and throwing all caution to the wind. I mean, since Denny Green, we haven't really – okay, yeah, I forgot. Thanks, Dave. I forgot about 4 years of Mike Tice too. Okay, so my whole point is that if you can get your hands on this guy and you can let him sit with Kevin O'Connell for a year and watch Kirk Cousins with how good his ceiling is, that's what it was for me. It wasn't so much breaking down the intangibles and how many games has he played and what his record was, that sort of thing. It's more the idea and the mindset for me. But again, I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah, and
shout out
again,
to the Zone podcast. Make sure you check out his podcast on YouTube.
So is this a fair assessment, Justin? When I say this, you're making this evaluation more off of an emotional, I'm tired of losing. This is a promising quarterback coming to my team. I want whatever they want. And the coaching staff is probably going to help him develop into something based off of his intangibles.
I'm saying that to me, had the Vikings made the move to get Anthony Richardson, it would have been because they believed in him enough to make that move. Now, either A, they didn't believe in him enough, or the price literally was just too high to get up to 3. And with what Arizona got from Houston, okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. It always takes 2 to tango. What I'm saying is, and this is some fun conversations that Dave and I will have, is it's nothing against
They're
Kirk
not fun
Cousins.
at all.
No, they're really not. You know, we've gone as far as we can with this core group and this quarterback. For me, it's just like, okay, when you sign up for Kirk, you won't have a train wreck season. You're not going to have a 4-win season with this guy. He's going to get you at least 7. With him and JJ, you're probably going to get at least 8 or 9.
Or at least 8, because that's the least he's had with us. Go ahead.
Now you see what we're talking about, Dante. But anyway.
Yeah, I got you.
the point I'm getting at is we've also seen that you're probably going to tap out at about the divisional round of the playoffs unless you have a really stacked team. You know, San Francisco has been bandied about because they've got a great offensive line and a great defense, the things that he doesn't have here. But the point I'm getting at here is I don't want to stick with something that I know, the definition of insanity, same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I was really, excuse me, I was willing to go with Anthony Richardson, even if that meant it totally blew up in your face. Because, again, he has a lower floor than Kirk Cousins does, obviously. But he might, emphasize might, have a higher ceiling. So for me, it's as a fan. I'm not just looking at it, Anthony Richardson versus Kirk Cousins. I'm not just looking at it as Anthony Richardson on this team with this head coach. Yes, I'm looking at the mega big picture where, people are just like, well, if, like, for example, if we trade for Trey Lance, we could be a 7-win team next year and we'll miss the playoffs. Okay, we can keep Kirk Cousins and losing the wild card round again. To me, I'm ready to go for broke. I'm kind of done being in the middle. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, that absolutely answered my question. Again, I get it. I get it because I'm in the same situation with the Jaguars. I hate Trevor Lawrence. No, I don't hate him, but I still think he has a lot to prove. I wanted Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence from what I've seen on the field. So kind of what I'm getting as, and so I guess what your sentiment too is like, I trust whoever the Vikings are going to trust to be my next guy too, because of course they're the experts. They're the ones that are evaluating, and what they've seen is kind of like what we've been reading and kind of seeing too. So take a chance. We'll see what happens. If he works out to be a talent, we look great, and we're in prime position to be a good team for a lot of years. And I'm just on the opposite. I'm like, every single time he had time to prove us wrong. What if we're comparing them to Cam Newton and having this and having that and doing this? Then why was their team 6-7? Why do we think that's going to be any better? Moving on to the next level. And I understand coaching gets better and things like that. Right. So that's like where my thinking as a fan, I'm like, okay, that's why I'm so critical in my rankings. And time again on my channel, you've seen the players that I talk about not do well, or the players that I talk about that are going to be really good. And my formula has been, pretty spot on. 90% of the players I always talk about are pretty much right. So my formula works for what I know. But again, I'm the type of dude too, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I'm an independent thinker. This is what I believe in. I'd rather be wrong by myself than in a group, and that's how I've always been. That's why, me and you agree. Mo Ibrahim is a beast. Obviously, people don't agree with that because he went undrafted.
Well, you know what I'm saying? And I'm also self-aware enough to know that I got a little bias in me when I talk about John Michael Schmitz and Mo Ibrahim, for example. Yep. I can understand why teams would pass on him with the fact that he blew out his Achilles a couple years ago. And, he was all Minnesota's offense was Mo Ibrahim. Their quarterback, Tanner Morgan, he's Christian Ponder. They never trusted him to throw at all.
He's a Pittsburgh Steeler right now.
Yeah, they never trusted Tanner Morgan to do anything, and they just kept giving Mo Ibrahim the ball. And then all of a sudden, why can we never beat Wisconsin or Iowa? I don't know. Maybe because when they shut down Mo Ibrahim, you've never given your quarterback any opportunity to try to get into some sort of rhythm because you're afraid he's going to fail. But I digress.
Yeah. It's interesting. That's why I asked the question. That's why I try to ask the question in chat. Like, why do you like the guy? Because give it a compelling argument. I would love to hear why people think the way that they do. Logically, and my formula has worked 90% of the time. The only quarterback that I've ever been wrong about was Cam Newton. And now I'm kind of like in the opposite situation with Anthony Richardson. You know what I'm saying? It's like, right. Well, he didn't perform, and I had all the signs pointing and saying, Cam Newton is the guy, but why should I believe that this dude is going to be as good when he has better intangibles by measurements and such a high upside, but brought his team to a 6-7 record, a primary program, a premier program like Florida, when we've been giving nothing but excuses for Will Levis. To me, they're in the same category of like, we're giving excuses for these guys that are going to be good, but Anthony Richardson interviews really well. He's got the intangibles. He looks the part. He is the part. Cam Newton, blah 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 blah. Choose him fourth overall. Will Levis, see you later. You go to the second round. It's like the same fairy tale for both of them. It's just what path do you want to go? What chance do you want to take more? So it's interesting.
For me, it was more the idea than it was. I mean, there are some fans, and I don't just to say it like this. There are some fans that were buying into it hook, line, and sinker the way you were questioning. There's fans like me who I would say, yeah, I see all those flaws. I'm not going into this with my eyes wide shut. I'm going into this with my eyes wide open, knowing that what I see and what I hope for is a wing and a prayer, because I have the faith in the coach that this general manager and this ownership group hired and the thought process behind it. I have the faith that, okay, I'd rather have a guy that has all of these tools and needs to be coached up versus a guy that's probably pretty close to his ceiling anyway, so to speak. Like Anthony Richardson is nowhere close to what his ceiling is. In order for Anthony Richardson to hit his ceiling, he is going to need to be coached up to the nth degree. For example,
correct. I agree.
Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they haven't reached their ceiling, but where they can improve from where they're at right now is a smaller quantity than what Anthony Richardson can improve from. So I'm saying I'd rather have the guy that's still got a lot to get versus a guy that's almost at his maximum capacity. So
exactly. He lost the competition to Sean Clifford at Penn State, then went to Kentucky. And arguably, one of the best running backs in this draft was Chris Rodriguez, and nobody talks about him because Will Levis was so interesting to people too. And I think that hurt Chris Rodriguez's draft stock. Now he's going to go to Washington and ball out. And Mateo, I see your comment. Richardson has pocket awareness. I also guess Richardson has no wide receiver worth talking about. Levis had no pocket awareness. That's cap. I mean, I can send you my notes if you really want to go watch the film on these two. Like that's to me, that's cap. I'm just gonna say, I mean, the dude had Ricky Purcell and what's his name that just got drafted this year. So saying that he had no weapons is absolutely not correct. I mean, he had Travis Etienne, who is Trevor Etienne's brother. They had Montrell Johnson, who's another like up and coming running back. He's got weapons, and so did Will Levis. Will Levis, we're just giving excuses. That's what this is. We're giving excuses, and for especially for Will Levis, and how we think he's going to do because he had such great arm talent and showed it. But I mean, I got the timestamps and stuff showing how trash Anthony Richardson can be too. I don't think, Ricky Purcell is not going to stretch himself for 10 yards at a time to try to catch a ball when Anthony Richardson just totally launches it 15 yards past him. That's not a Ricky Purcell issue. That's an Anthony Richardson issue. And I will give Anthony Richardson this, though. I don't know if you guys heard me say this. At the Combine, I seen a Justin Shorter. There you go. At the Combine, I seen a completely different, not completely different, but I seen where he's working on things. His throwing motion is a little different. He just looked different to me. So I don't know what's going on with him, but I hope that continues to progress. And I want to be wrong about him so bad. Like, I can't wait till next season where he comes in 5 games straight and just 3 touchdowns, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing every single game. Bam, bam, bam. And I can come into week 6 and be like, hey, guys, I was wrong. I look like an idiot for the second time around. Same Cam Newton dude proved me wrong. I love making those videos. I love eating crow. I don't want to see any of these guys do bad.
Those are good videos when you say, hey, some guy proved me wrong. My apology videos this season were some of my best videos where I was wrong about a player.
I did several. I don't mind. I mean, I think a lot of people think I'm really headstrong in my evaluation. Look, guys, Justin, you said, when do I have time? Like, I was up to like 3:15 in the morning last night just watching random film on players that went later on in the rounds because I didn't know a lot about them. and I'm a nut when it comes to this stuff. And I think when people put in the time, yes, they're a little bit more passionate about. Yeah, they're a little bit more passionate about the things that they're saying, because I have my notes and everything that I can share with anybody at any given time and say, hey, I don't necessarily think that was the right evaluation on here, and here's why. This is what I evaluated. But when you have arguments with people, they really don't bring that to the table. It's like, I'm just going to say he's bad, but not give you any evidence why.
Right. No, I don't have an issue with bluntness. I don't have an issue with, hey, this is what I think. I think the other thing too is it all depends on where a guy is drafted to, and if they're in the right coaching. I mean, we'll go way back in the time machine. 2005, we trade Randy Moss, and we had 2 chances to take Aaron Rodgers. Does anybody here really think that Aaron Rodgers? Say whatever you want about Mike McCarthy. Okay, say what you want about him being not the best head coach. He was really good, and he had a hand in developing Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people,
and he won a Super Bowl.
And he won a dang Super Bowl with him. If you think Mike Tice and Brad Childress would have got Aaron Rodgers to where Mike McCarthy did, I got a bridge to sell you, because they wouldn't have. So part of it too is, like you said about Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields, and I've said this the last couple of weeks. I think Justin Fields has got more to him than what he has shown thus far in Chicago, and he hasn't been surrounded with the right infrastructure.
Justin Fields beat the 49ers in the rain last year, week 1. And the 49ers had arguably the best all-around defense last year outside of the Eagles. That's not for fake. The kid's got something. I remember the year that he went to the college football playoff. He was 50-2 in touchdown to interception ratio. Right. And people were talking about that this dude is a running quarterback. He's a Georgia product. He was there. The only reason he didn't stay there is because he knew he wasn't going to beat out Jake Fromm and them. So he transferred out to Ohio State, got under Ryan Day and Urban Meyer when he was there, and became a protege.
Right.
I think he's great. He's a great guy. I think
right now some of the propaganda, particularly coming from Chicago Bears fans, about how he's already better than Kirk Cousins and he's like a top 3 quarterback, king in the North. I think that's a bit of a stretch.
That's a huge stretch. That's Stretch Armstrong right there.
I mean, anybody who's watched more than 5 minutes of me on a live will know what my feelings of Kirk Cousins are, but there's no way on God's green earth right now I'm putting Justin Fields ahead of Kirk Cousins. Sorry. It's just, let's not get ridiculous here.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel what you're saying. I would take Justin Fields right now, put him with Kevin O'Connell. Yes, in a minute. What was
Justin Fields' offensive line rank, like 29th, and then people were wondering why he was using his running ability to get out the pocket? Are you just going to stop him from using one of his best assets too? Again, people like what they like, and we can't argue that. Just like teams like what they like. Just like Mo Ibrahim didn't get drafted, but we really like him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a preference at the end of the day. But what the golden argument right now in today's football world is, you can say that quarterback play has been at an all-time low. It has. We don't have those John Elways and Joe Montanas and Steve Young type of players anymore. It's not that. But we can't downsize a guy's ability to be an athlete like Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts because you don't like that.
Which is why I like the idea of Richardson. I like the idea. I guess that's the best way to say it. I like the idea of him and trusted that his flaws could be worked out by this coaching staff. I guess that would be the simplest way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, it was just athletic ability. I mean, I could have cared less if we drafted a quarterback in the first round. I actually probably would have had Hooker above Anthony Richardson if Hooker didn't have an ACL injury. So, but yeah,
let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that, just what you know about me, if you had to put Will Levis and Anthony Richardson up, and it kind of, a lot of people said it's kind of 50-50 for you, it sounds like, who do you think that I would pick? And it's one that I would pick in a heartbeat to start a team if he gave me those 2 options.
I'm thinking you're probably going to take Will Levis.
All right, we'll just make it 50-50 so at least one of us gets it right. I'll say Richardson.
I'll take Anthony Richardson in a heartbeat.
Okay, I just wondered because you were talking about.
You're poker playing me right now, aren't you? Because I'm just like, no, there's no way. But no, I agree with the point that was made a moment ago. If Hendon Hooker had not been injured, I'd have him right there with Anthony Richardson and the other two. Young.
He would have probably, and this is might be a little bit of a hot take, but let's say go back in the multiverse here. Hendon Hooker didn't get hurt. He was what 51-7 and 2 years at Tennessee.
No, Tennessee 51-7. What are you talking about?
51 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, how?
Like career-wise, because you only had 5 picks his last 2 years.
Yeah. 51-7. Gotcha. Yeah.
All right, so he's having the best touchdown to interception ratio that we've seen in college football in quite some time. Doesn't get hurt. Finish out the season. They get to the college football playoffs.
Yep.
Beat the first team, make it to the national championship, and I still think they get beat by Georgia. Right? I don't think it's as bad as TCU, but I think Georgia probably wins by like 24 points. But we're looking at it as not being Hendon Hooker's fault. Let's say that his stat line was 1 interception, 4 touchdowns, 375 yards. We'll say something like that. Hendon Hooker would be the number 2 quarterback chosen in this draft over CJ Stroud.
I could see that. So, yeah, I mean, yes, if Hendon Hooker doesn't get hurt, Tennessee, at minimum, are they in the same side of the SEC as Georgia, or are they on the opposite side? Would they have played?
No, they're on the opposite side. They're in the West.
So, in other words, Tennessee and Georgia would have played each other in the SEC championship game, and they probably both, regardless of how that game turns out, probably would have both been in the playoff if Hendon Hooker's not hurt. Yeah.
The crap I got in the chat usually about Hendon Hooker is that, oh, Dave, you don't want him to start until he's 27. I'm like, well, I mean, that's when Kirk started.
Well, no, they're both in the East. They're both in the East, so they would have played each other.
Right.
But
obviously they did, and Georgia won because
we've seen crazier things happen because it was so weak last year. They probably would have ended up. Somebody would have voted them in because Tennessee. There's bias in college football.
Of course there is.
Their only loss probably would have been against Georgia.
Right.
And they still would have been voted in because here's the reason why. Here's the reason why I say that. TCU lost against Kansas State in the Big 12 championship and still got put into the national championship.
Yep.
Tennessee would have took their spot.
Yes.
Because of strength of schedule and them playing the best team in the country.
Particularly, like, let's say, for example, he doesn't get hurt in Tennessee and Georgia ends up being that shootout just like Tennessee and Alabama was, and it was a 1-possession last-minute, field goal or something like that. No, absolutely would. No, again, to me, my biggest drawback on Hendon Hooker isn't his age. It's his age coming off of an injury like that because, again, he's going to be healing. He's going to be rehabilitating all summer. He's going to be rehabilitating, the first half of the season?
Yep.
If not the whole season, darn near. So he's not going to be able to do off-season workouts. He's not going to be able to do mini camps. He's not going to be able to do those things that, say, a Jaron Hall is going to be able to do to try to soak up information. If he wasn't hurt, absolutely. That changes everything.
Yeah. I agree. And I just think that there's a lot more writing. And I don't know, kind of a question to you guys. Like, I know CJ Stroud was handed a good deal of cards being at Ohio State.
True.
Coming off Ryan Day being an inheritance of Urban Meyer. A lot of those Urban Meyer kids, this was their last year there. So their whole Urban Meyer thing is gone now.
Right.
So really it's going to be Ryan Day coaching his kids now to the fullest. So you got handed a really good deck of cards versus Hendon Hooker, who had a first-year head coach. They did really well the previous year. They doing really well this year, and then he ended up getting hurt. Who had to deal with more adversity and who would be looked at more in the light of like, okay, strength of schedule was probably even because Big Ten, they play really good teams. But who did more in adversity? And Tennessee is a really big IP in college football. They probably would have put Hendon Hooker over CJ Stroud.
Possibly. I can see that. I'll say this, though. This is the one thing that drives me nuts about Ohio State quarterbacks. At some point, we can't completely say, well, because all of these previous Ohio State quarterbacks didn't work this, or, that means every Ohio State quarterback to the end of mankind is never going to be any good.
Thank you. Thank you.
At the end of it, to me, if you are put in a position to succeed, and you are given a lot of advantages, there's two possible outcomes. Either you take full advantage of them, or you squander the opportunities that were afforded to you. At some point, I think we penalize quarterbacks from Ohio State and other schools too. It's like, well, he was surrounded by all kinds of talent and this, that, and whatever else. Okay, but he took full advantage of it. If he was surrounded by that much talent and didn't take full advantage of it, I could listen to that. But why is it we penalize people for being successful when they were put in a position?
I'm so glad you said that.
Here's a hot take.
That's not a hot take. SEC is better.
Yes, that's
it's not even close.
Being sarcastic.
Oh yeah.
Gosh! Wow.
I was gonna say, come on now.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who missed sarcasm. But anyway, go ahead.
I was saying I definitely agree with that sentiment, and I'm so glad you said that, because you have to take that type of stuff out of your evaluation. And a lot of people will say like big boards and stuff like that are bust because of Ohio State quarterback being ranked so high. We need to put in the fact that once those players get drafted, it's their fault if they don't do well. And then I guess you can blame coaching after that too. Dwayne Haskins is the only one that was kind of like in a really weird spot where he probably would have been the starting quarterback for Washington, and he ended up getting killed last year. So maybe some weird way that breaks the curse for, Justin Fields and CJ Stroud. But you can't evaluate based off of history of a school. Go around to every single school. You can say that about Florida State.
You can say
Florida
that about
State
every school and every position from every school.
Exactly. There's just time periods like where people say like USC is wide receiver U, or Penn State is linebacker U, or tight end U. Right. They just got lucky by recruiting really well. It's a great narrative. It's a great thing to write in the story or in the newspaper that these people are the way that they are. But to evaluate a quarterback unfairly because of the school that he plays at, that has just had a bad luck and bad string of bad luck with quarterbacks that have been drafted that never do well, is very unfair. If anything, Justin Fields is a Georgia guy. So,
right.
If you really want to slice it down the middle, a lot of the guys that do bad from Ohio State were at Ohio State. What about Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow was an Ohio State guy.
Are we never going to take a wide receiver from Ole Miss again because Laquan Treadwell sucked? So we can never take a wide receiver from that school ever again. I just don't. I get it. But it's one thing if it's like within the same 4 or 5 year stretch, you can maybe make some analogies to it. You're going to talk about quarterbacks from 15 years ago at the same college that have absolutely nothing to do with this guy, and that those teams are completely different. It just never made any sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like an urban legend that you really can't hold any water or weight to it. Mm-hmm. Is it interesting? Of course. Interesting. Look at the Browns. How many quarterbacks have sucked after sucked after sucked after sucked? They had like a 25-year run of just sucky quarterbacks. But
were they all bad quarterbacks, or was it that their coaches were bad for 20-some years too?
Yeah. Are we really going to say the year that Baker Mayfield took them to the playoffs that he was a bad quarterback? Absolutely not. Is he the greatest quarterback? No, but by all accounts, he broke the mold of what happened with the Browns. So, great headline, bad evaluation. Yeah.
Whew.
If you guys don't mind, I think we
just hit
about to hit 2 hours. I had probably a hard stop about 45 minutes ago, but I love the conversation, and I don't bring Dante on too much, so it was great to have you, man.
Thank you so much, Dante. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
any
man.
Final thoughts about this upcoming season? What do you anticipate the Vikings? What do you think? What's your last final thoughts about what the Vikings did this offseason? What are they going into camp with?
I don't like to give evaluations this early. They broke my heart last year, but
yeah, they didn't win the Super Bowl. They did win 13.
Hey, I had a 3-year.
You are somewhat vindicated.
I had a 2-year streak. No, it's 3-year streak of at least guessing one team in the Super Bowl. So I was feeling really good about my pick there. But you guys won 13 games, nothing to squander. You guys got to the playoffs, and by all accounts, you guys made. I mean, a C grade in this draft is not bad. I mean, I'd more so rated like it a B minus, but that's not what our rating scale was. We weren't getting minus or
one
pluses.
impact player like we did, I think that really goes a long way.
I think you guys are one trade away. One trade away. Let's see what you do in free agency.
Right.
But right now, I think you guys are a 12-win team. I see that right now from the moves that were being made. I want to see what happens free agency. I want to check out your practices. I want to see how everybody's meshing well together.
At our schedule.
They release it next week, right?
It's honestly not as hard as.
But who do you guys play? Who's your division locks for this year?
All I know is we play Kansas City.
So you play the AFC West. Ooh.
Yeah, it's the West.
Oh, we play Cincinnati too. So.
Oh, so you played the AFC West and North then?
Ooh,
my goodness.
I'll get it real quick.
Cincinnati was our bonus game.
Oh, Cincinnati.
Okay, so you don't play. So you don't play the AFC North then?
No, we play the West. You're right, because we got Denver. We got
we luck out and get Cincinnati as our that extra game.
We play all 4 Final Four teams, is what I remember off the top of my head. Because we got Philly and we got San Fran and we got. I mean, it'd be. I
want you guys to get your revenge.
We play our division twice. So
I want you guys to get your revenge on Philly, man.
The other thing is that we have 8 home games and not 9. So we got a little bit tougher, but these things can be true. We could win 10 games and still have a better team than we had last year. That's the way I looked at it.
Oh, Sarah, don't say that. Don't say he's gonna be out because of concussions. Don't wish the injuries on him. Hey, if Bryce Young was gonna be out with concussions, he would have got it last year. Go watch the Texas and Tennessee and Mississippi State game last year. That dude was getting crunched, and he was fine. He was fine.
2-year-old hope, 2-15.
Thank you, Drop Shot Jake. More realistically, 8 to 10, yes. But you know what? Sneak preview to everybody as we wrap it up here. And thanks again, Dante. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Hit them like buttons on the way out. If you didn't, hit them in the way in. We might be doing a little draft. We might be doing a little multi-stream next Thursday when the old schedule comes out. That's in the works. It's not official yet.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And tomorrow, just Skull Experience. We got Tanisha coming back. She was very vocal on Twitter going into the draft. Let's see what she was like leaving the draft tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. That's 8 o'clock Eastern and 7 o'clock Central.
If you don't already subscribe to East Coast Gridiron, first off, why the heck not? But in all seriousness, go subscribe there. And if you don't already subscribe to both Purple and Gold,
I hear you can find them on Google.
Hit them subscribe buttons there as well. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Skull Vikes, and good night.
See you guys.